Chuck Pollock and J.P. Butler here courtside at the Reilly Center, where just moments ago the St. Bonaventure basketball team got by St. Louis 70-55, but JP, it didn't look like that was going to be the result with 6 minutes to play.
No, it's interesting. We were talking coming into this game that we thought this game could really go one of two ways. They would either sort of take out their anger from what happened on Saturday in the VCU game out on St. Louis and maybe blow a young rebuilding St. Louis team out of the water, similar to the way they did in St. Louis a couple of weeks ago, or that maybe Saturday would linger a little bit into tonight. And I think that's what happened. I think that was part of it. At least through the first half, Bona's down 6 at halftime, but you had to think that eventually Bona would get it going at home. The crowd wasn't great, but that they'd eventually get it going at home against a team, that's really at the bottom of the league right now, and that's what they did.
One of the things you expect in a home game especially, you're going to get great play from the guards. Jalen Adams had a nice game. Matt Mobley had a nice game. But it's interesting to me, when the Bonnies were pulling away, it was Amadi Ekpeze who really gave them a lift.
I'll tell you what, Amadi Ekpeze has really given them something the last couple of games here. And you're right, Adams was the catalyst in the whole thing. He really had a bunch of their points in that big run that finally put them up double digits. But Amadi Ekpeze had 3 big baskets in that same stretch that kind of allowed them to pull away. So the Duquesne game 2 weeks ago, or last week at this time, he gives them a big push in the second half, which allows them to pull away from Duquesne, and really does the same thing tonight. And I think we're sort of starting to see the potential a little bit that this freshman has, and I think the more he plays and the better he plays, the more confidence he has, and maybe this is kind of the starting point for him going forward.
One of the things I found interesting tonight, as you said, you're not sure what you're going to get. This is a team the Bonnies led 46-15 in St. Louis. Clearly this was a game where the Bonnies had all they wanted for about, more than 2/3, 3/4 of the game. But it interested me, so much of the focal point about the game on Saturday against VCU was the Bona crowd. This is a very tame and undersized Bona crowd, so the Bonnies didn't get the lift they normally get from the home crowd.
I think that played a big part in it too. I mean, this is a team that clearly, feeds off the crowd, and the crowd in turn starts to feed off it when it's playing well, and neither was happening for the longest time. It wasn't until late in that game when Bona finally got it up close to 10 that forced St. Louis to call a timeout, that the crowd finally started getting into the game, and I think that finally started to become a factor for him. But really the biggest thing to me is, Adams was great in the second half. Ekpeze really gave them a big lift, but their defense down the stretch. Bona only gave up 2 free throws until the very end of the game. From the 7:02 mark until the very end, they only gave up 2 free throws until St. Louis got that last bucket to make it 15. Bona outscored the Billikens 17-4 down the stretch. So I really think it was just a great defensive effort that ultimately was able to put them over the top.
We'll be back again a week from tonight when the Bonnies are going to have a home game again, and we'll talk to you then.